We've got breaking news out of college football where the latest AP poll has been released. The top 5 remain unchanged, with Ohio State at number 1 for the 11th straight week. They've received 55 of a possible 65 first place votes. The newest member, the top 10, is Texas, who moves up from 13 to number 10. Before you go up in arms about Oregon moving down one spot, I think that might be a correction from what we saw from the first college football playoff rankings that had them at number 9, whereas the AP poll had them at 6 last week. If we continue to go down, BYU is down 4 spots after losing on the road at Texas Tech to number 12. The biggest faller, though, is Virginia, down 8 spots after losing, no longer undefeated in conference play for them. Speaking of conference play, Louisville also down 5 spots after taking a loss against Cal. Elsewhere, there is 5 more teams in the AP poll. Some unranked to ranked. Pitt is officially in the AP top 25. James Madison, South Florida, getting some G5 respect, unlike from what we saw from the playoff committee with no G5 teams ranked in the initial college football playoff rankings. Here to talk about the new AP Top 25 poll, Damien Harris here in studio, Brad Crawford joining us remotely, and I want to broach the Oregon topic because I mentioned it during that read that the AP poll and the college football playoff had some different rankings, so I don't see it necessarily as the AP poll knocking them for getting that big win against Iowa. But if we look at this Oregon resume as a whole, I'll start with you. What impressed you most about what they were able to do on the road at Iowa? Because it was a hard watch for most of that game, but a win's a win.
Listen here. Rain, sleet, or snow, the Oregon Ducks are ready to go. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Lanning came out and said, we want to beat Iowa at Iowa's game. We don't want to bring them to our ballpark. We don't want to turn this into a track meet. We want to make this an ugly, grinded out, physical, punch them in the mouth 15-round fight with inclement weather, and that is exactly what they did. Talking about beating Iowa at their own game, Oregon had 260 yards on the ground to Iowa's 100. You want to talk about beating Iowa at their own game, running the football and stopping the run? That's what Iowa does. Well, guess what? Oregon just happened to do it a little bit better yesterday, and they were down some key players. No Decorian Moore, which I know he's a receiver, but he's also an extension of the run game with all the things he can do with the ball in his hands. Listen, what did Oregon show us yesterday? They can win any time, any place, in any kind of weather, playing any style of football. Dan Lanning has the Oregon Ducks ready to go for anything.
I was most impressed with Dante Moore. Despite not having a great game for 3.5 quarters, he made the necessary throws he needed to make when the Ducks had that final drive where Atticus Sappington hit the game-winning field goal. Dante Moore, Dan Lanning alluded to it after the game. That quarterback played well down the stretch. That's what you have to have in the Big Ten to win quality road games. This is by far Oregon's best win of the season. We were sort of waiting for that signature moment against a ranked team. Iowa got into the AP poll and college football playoff top 25 last week. Probably going to be out now. The playoff rankings Tuesday night, but this win for Oregon was a signature, and it was one that Oregon needed because had the Ducks lost Saturday night and maybe finished 10-2, you're talking about the likelihood of going on the road in the first round.
You mentioned a game in which the quarterback stepped up when they absolutely had to have it. How about Indiana and Fernando Mendoza? You mentioned thinking about potential scenarios if Oregon would have lost that game. We were thinking about potential tiebreaker scenarios had Indiana lost the game to Penn State. But Brad, are we ready to write their name in Sharpie to the college football playoff, the Hoosiers?
No, they're 100% in. I don't see Indiana losing its next 2 games against weak competition in the Big Ten. You know, it's funny. The narrative has changed a little bit. We docked Oregon's win at Penn State a couple weeks ago when Penn State started that tailspin, and now we're tooting Indiana's horn for beating a winless team in Big Ten play, having to come back to do it. It's a solid win on the road. Oregon has that same win at Penn State. I think right now, Emily, 3 guaranteed playoff teams in the Big Ten are Ohio State at number 1, Indiana in that 2 or 3 spot. You see there that last-second touchdown from Omar Cooper, and then Oregon probably getting that at-large number 3. There's some other teams in the mix, but right now the Big Ten is firm with at least 3 playoff entries.
Yeah, I agree with Brad. It's firm. Those top 3 teams sit atop of the Big Ten. They're going to be in the college football playoffs. Indiana specifically. I mean, getting out of the playoff conversation for a second, because like Brad said, they're in. You want to talk about a team, a program that has never won 10 games in a season before. And in 2 years under Curt Cignetti, they've had 2 seasons winning 10 games. This year, 10 games in 10 games. I mean, it's nothing short of amazing what Curt Cignetti, Fernando Mendoza, Omar Cooper, with no Elijah Surratt, this defense, it's just outstanding the way that they play, even in a hostile environment. We talked about this Penn State. They don't have a head coach. They lost their starting quarterback, so that gives the team an opportunity to just go out and play free, throw the kitchen sink at you, swing their hardest punch, and try to knock you out for 3 quarters. And Penn State did that, but Indiana just fought. They scratched, they clawed, they protected Mendoza when they had to. Omar Cooper showed up in the biggest moments. Fernando Mendoza, on that last 2-minute drive, he had some throws that make you forget about what happened in the first 3 quarters of the game, because that's what NFL scouts and GMs look for. A leader, somebody that's composed and can lead their team to a game-winning drive in the heat of a moment on the road. Spectacular performance. Regardless of what this Penn State has gone through this year, this was a great win by Indiana.
That's what you were saying yesterday, right here on CBS Sports
Sticking
HQ.
to the same tune.
I needed to see Indiana get in a tough spot and see how they get out of it. They put themselves in that tough spot, but they were able to get out of it with flying colors. And guys, this is the part of the program where we got to get a little negative, because we're talking about the ACC. I mean, what the heck is happening? Virginia loses, Louisville loses, Duke loses to UConn. I know it's not within the conference. They're still very much in the conference race, though. So I ask you this: where does this all leave Miami? Is the U back in this thing?
Well, you know, yesterday for Miami was like, you know how sometimes you leave a door cracked and there's a little bit of a draft and it just kind of slowly just pushes it open just a little bit, not all the way to where you can walk in, but just a little bit. That was the scenario for Miami. Now, where they sit in the ACC rankings, there's no clear-cut path for them to get to the ACC championship. But, you know, when you look at Pitt, a team that's above them in the rankings right now, they've still got to play Miami. They've still got to play Georgia Tech, the #1 team in the ACC. You've got an SMU team who, you know, they're above Miami as well, but we've seen too much inconsistency from Kevin Jennings and this SMU team. So is there a chance? A small one, but Miami, they've still just got to climb the ladder. They're going to hope for some luck, and they've just got to make the most of their opportunities. But what I will say about this ACC conference is this is exactly what we got out of the Big 12 last year. The parity from top to bottom is unfathomable. The ACC is this year's Big 12.
Yeah, what you don't see there on that graphic is what has to happen outside of Miami for the Canes to get one of those at-large spots. Not only does Mario Cristobal's team have to show consistency for the first time this season and win these next 3 games to finish 10-2, but they're going to need Notre Dame to miss the playoffs. They're probably going to need Texas to lose to Georgia and Texas A&M, so they're out of the mix. Probably going to need Vanderbilt, a team ahead of Miami right now, to lose to Tennessee here in a few weeks. So Miami does not control its own destiny by any means, and here we are in early November. That's where you want to be in the playoff. You want to be in control of your own destiny. Right now, Georgia Tech is one of the lone teams in the ACC with that playoff shot.
Yeah, the problem with the at-large case for the ACC is they have 6 non-Power 4 losses this season. All the other 4 conferences have 8 as a group. So that does not lift up the ACC well if you can't win outside the Power 4. Meanwhile, Texas Tech absolutely dominating, I would say, at BYU.
That they did.
Brad, do we think they still need to win the Big 12 Conference Championship in order to get into the college football playoff, or are we also pulling out the Sharpie for the Red Raiders?
Yeah, if you ask Jordan McGuire, that's the only in-game goal right now. Make sure you win the conference and then let the chips fall where they may. Emily, if Texas Tech's red zone offense was a little bit better, that might be a top 4 team right now. They're playing that well on both sides of the football, at least before they get inside that red area. But you saw Saturday afternoon against BYU, dominated a previously unbeaten team. Now we only have 3 unbeatens left in the Power 5 ranks. I've been very impressed with Texas Tech, despite having some key injuries this season. One to Skylar Howard along the D-line. They lost to Will Hammond, backup quarterback from Baron Morton there, to a season-ending injury, and still they're 9-1 right now through Week 11. I think Texas Tech's going to run the table, win the Big 12, and that's going to be a one-bid league with BYU potentially finishing 11-2 and being the first team out of that playoff mix.
I'm 100% in agreement with Brad. Listen, if I had a Sharpie in my hand right now, I'd write Texas Tech on this board because they are going to win out. They're going to win the Big 12 championship, and they are going to the college football playoffs. BYU, on the other hand, they might see them again in the Big 12 championship. But then we'll get into a little bit of a conversation about, well, the committee did say that they're not going to punish conference championship losers, but based on the parity in this conference, you're a one-bid conference and you only get one team. That's going to create a little turmoil in terms of the conversation of how do we treat conference champion losers.
What is helping the Big 12 is in that initial college football playoff ranking, they had 3 teams ahead of the first ACC team. That was before all the carnage we saw in the ACC yesterday, so that certainly helped the Big 12 and will hurt the ACC. How about the G5, though? Who the heck is in the driver's seat now that Tulane beat Memphis?
Tulane. I mean, ooh. I have to think Tulane. And listen, this is me. Hindsight is 2020 because at the beginning of the season, I said Tulane was going to be the G5 representative. They didn't play as well early in the year, but now Jake Retzlaff, he's got acclimated to the system. He's starting to play at that high caliber that he played at BYU. And when I look at this team, they're hard to beat just because of Jake Retzlaff. They play good defense. They can run the ball efficiently. They've got the makings to represent the G5 in the college football playoff. But again, you've got teams like Navy, North Texas, South Florida. I mean, we've seen what South Florida's done. We talked to Coach Golish yesterday. We know that this is a conference full of teams that all have an opportunity. They're just going to have to duke it out, and the best will be crowned as the G5 representative.
Yeah, I think the G5 race is down to 4 teams: North Texas, USF, Tulane, and James Madison out of the Sun Belt. James Madison, by the way, ranked for the first time in the AP poll along with USF at number 25 today. I think it's very interesting that this G5 race has come down to the final weeks of the season. We thought Tulane was out of the mix. Then they go and beat Memphis. Very big win there. We've already seen North Texas, who is my current projected pick to make the playoff, lose by almost 30 points at home to USF. So it's very unpredictable right now, but I do think that the G5 playoff representative, Emily, is going to come out of the American. Whoever wins that conference the first weekend of December, that's going to be the 12 seed in this bracket.
It'll be like what we see with mid-majors and March Madness. Just win that final game and you'll punch your ticket to the tournament. James Madison, though, is just waiting for the American to cannibalize on itself, and the Dukes will squeak right in to the postseason. We're going to continue to talk about the AP poll and what's happening in the world of college football, but let's remind you of some very important dates. The first round of the college football playoff kicks on December 20th. We've got the quarterfinals at the tail end and the beginning of next year. Semifinals January 8th through 9th, and that national championship coming your way January 19th.